Welcome to Cohen in the City, and I miss Broadway so much. This is where my family and I go once or twice a year. I just love walking on the streets that you can see in my backdrop. So we're bringing a little bit of Broadway flavor to you today on the episode, and talking about a new program, One Table. It's a national nonprofit helping thousands of people in their 20s and 30s find and create Friday night dinner communities and practices rooted in the ancient wisdom of Shabbat each week. And Pause is a new video collaboration between One Table and Broadway's own Adam Cantor. It launched October the 2nd at onetable.org/pause. I saw the first episode. I can't wait to see the next one in November. And Adam Cantor is with me today. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And to a little Montreal flavor, Joel Teitelman, who is the star of Smoke Meat in New York City with his Mile End Deli, and he's participating in Pause. So welcome, Joel.
Thank you.
So it's great to have you both here. First of all, Adam, I knew who you were right away. In fact, you were a great incentive to do this interview, and Joel, you were just a nice addition, icing on the cake, if you will, to have you part of this, because I've been an admirer of what you've done for many years, and turns out that I know your dad very well. So it's great to have you on. Your dad is Morris Teitelman, who of course was a radio industry veteran and very close with my family. So really means a lot to me to have you on this show. So Adam is an Emmy, Grammy, and Outer Critics Circle Award winner. You performed in the Tony-winning Broadway productions of The Band's Visit. You starred in Rent, Next to Normal, Fiddler on the Roof, Off-Broadway, and now you're doing this program called Pause. How did this all come about? And maybe you could explain how it all works, Adam.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me here. Well, towards the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing the show that I won the Outer Critics. I got the honoree for that. And we shut early, like so many shows. We shut down. And so much of my community was left, grappling with the question of how do we continue to collaborate and create at a time when the world felt like it needed some new material and art and a way to kind of heal. And so we created, a bunch of friends and I, we created what was called Saturday Night Seder, which was a digital Passover Seder with a whole bunch of Broadway and Hollywood folks. And it took to a lot of people. We ended up raising about $4 million for the CDC Foundation. And it really meant a lot to people, I guess. And because of that, a bunch of other organizations came to me and said, can you create stuff for us? And one of them was One Table. And I really liked what they were doing. And I liked the people. And I thought there's something here. There's something about this ritual of Shabbat that we come back to every week that I felt interested to explore. And so flash forward, here we are with Pause. We just released the first episode and we've got 11 more to go, first Friday of each month for the next year.
Well, I was impressed with the first one with one of the stars from what was his? Tell me a little bit about who he is.
So Jesse, the star of the first episode is Jesse Kowarski, who played the fiddler in the production of Fiddler on the Roof that I did on Broadway in 2016. I played Model, and he was the fiddler.
Okay, terrific. So Joel, you're living in New York. How long now? You've been there?
I've been here full time for about 8 years.
Okay, so how did you get involved in One Table?
So, in New York, I run the Mile End Delicatessen, which is a Montreal-inspired Jewish deli. And about a few years into it, we really decided that, we wanted to be more involved in the Jewish community and have always looked for interesting ways to do that. And when I heard about the One Table organization and their mission to basically just have more Shabbat dinners, especially in young adults, which is kind of at the time our target demographic, it kind of seemed like a good match. So we reached out to them and they right away asked me if I could be a Shabbat coach. And so just as a quick kind of one-liner, what One Table does is they try to empower young Jews of all affiliations to host Shabbat dinners, whether it's host their first or host more regularly, more frequently, and they can also provide grants for food, subsidies for even getting like things like Shabbat candles and things like that. And one of the things that they offer is Shabbat coaching. So if you were maybe an unaffiliated Jewish person or maybe just a little out of the practice and wanted to host a Shabbat dinner, you could reach out and say, hey, I'd love to be put in contact with a coach. And they would just, we'd help them figure out how they wanted to host it, how religious or secular or what mix of traditional and like new age they wanted to do it. And I thought it was a great opportunity to help out an organization that had a really great mission.
Adam, Canadians right now, they can engage with Pause, but they can't actually, and they can attend virtual events. How do you attend a virtual event? How does that even happen?
Well, you can go to onetable.org and there's so much information there. And then of course, there's their Instagram channel, which is pretty active. And I'll just say tune in the first Friday of each month at 5:00 is when we will release each episode of Pause. So that's of course a great way to engage with us.
Joel, would being a Montrealer, would you like to play a role in eventually having Montrealers play more of an active role in One Table and the Shabbat experience?
Yeah, certainly. I think it's a great organization. They kind of build on, it's like kind of like a next step for people to be involved in Judaism after kind of, let's say, like their high school or young adult, like Israel birthright experience or something like that. And what I like about it is it really encourages you to engage in what I think is kind of the most easy to access element of Judaism. I mean, at this point, I have a young family. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, and my 2-year-old knows Friday night Shabbat, we eat challah, we have a little bit of wine, grape juice.
Wonderful.
And we say a blessing or two, and it's just like special. We take a minute, we light the candles, and that's all it is to him. But we do it every week. It's a little tradition. Even growing up in Montreal, I was, from a pretty secular family, but very traditional. And, Friday night was together, whether it was at the kitchen table or at a restaurant. Friday night was together, and that was kind of a thing. And, even my parents are divorced, but it was like that in both homes. So, I think it's like a nice tradition, very accessible, and it's accessible to all walks of Jews. I like to joke that New York is kind of like the real Israel, because a Jew can be as Jewish or as not Jewish as they want to be, and yet they can use a word like schmuck anywhere and be understood. So it's kind of, it's like the it's the other Israel.
Yes. Well, now, Adam, this is also very well timed for COVID, because people are stuck inside and looking for things to do, and maybe you're gonna recruit more people to enjoy the Shabbat experience this way.
That would be nice. I mean, I think a lot of the questions that we're asking now is, how do you mark time in a seemingly timeless era when this idea of time is so nebulous and strange. I hope that something like this encourages people to take the time to reflect and to galvanize for the week ahead, and to center themselves on all the incredible things that we know Shabbat does. I feel like this is a time, especially when mental health all over the world is in a scary place. I think Shabbat can come in handy for everybody.
Now, the big question on everybody's mind, and I keep thinking about it because, like I said, my family and I, we go to New York once or twice a year. We love the Broadway shows. What's going to happen? I mean, I can't imagine what's going on there. Just Broadway completely shut down. When do you see it coming back, and will it ever be the same?
It's a really good question. The short answer is I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. It will come back. That I do know. I think it won't be a matter of weeks. I would be hard pressed to feel like it would be a matter of months even. But it will come back, and it will be better, I think, because we'll, like Shabbat, this epic pause has enabled us to kind of look at where we've been and where we're going and how we want to get there, and kind of reassess practices across the board, socially, economically, ethically, all the ways. There's been a lot of conversation happening, and I think Broadway will come back even stronger. And you look, if history is any indicator, you know, periods of darkness are followed by periods of greatness. So I'm looking forward to that greatness.
Adam, as a Jew, you've been in a couple of Broadway shows that have depicted some interesting Jewish characters. The Band's Visit, for one, and Fiddler on the Roof. How did you enjoy that? Were those among your highlights for your career?
Absolutely. Well, Fiddler on the Roof, for example, was so deeply meaningful and profound to me. I come from a line of Jewish immigrants, and doing that show really inspired me to investigate my roots. I went to Eastern Europe, and I toured the areas where the former, you know, Shtetlach were, and I went to Sholem Aleichem's house, who wrote the original Fiddler, the Tevye stories, and I found, you know, what Anna Tefka would have been. It really was, it kind of felt like a homecoming for me. And I think a lot about the song in Fiddler on the Roof, the Sabbath prayer, which is everybody, you know, standing around the candles. And the whole beginning of the show, we talked about it, is this rush towards Shabbat. And then we get to the song Sabbath prayer, and the show kind of settles in that moment with all the characters that have been introduced, and then it launches off. And I think that function is a lot of what I'm hoping to achieve in Pause. And you'll see a whole bunch of fiddler folks throughout the series, in addition to Jesse Kowarski.
Very, very interesting. Joel, just a final word from you. Tell us how you started the Mile End Deli. Were you a big fan of smoked meat in Montreal? How did that start, and how's business now with COVID and everything?
So, ironically enough, I grew up kosher and didn't really have smoked meat until I was about 12 years old or so. So it's not something I grew up with at all. Like early on, to me, like Jewish deli was the Rascal House in Florida, where we would go for breakfast when we were down there.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
And like party sandwiches from Snowden Deli and that kind of thing. You know, long story short, I helped a friend as an investor when he had this idea. And very quickly, I was trying to figure out how I could avoid a career in law. And I decided, okay, I needed to drive down bagels overnight from Montreal to New York to serve them here. And one thing led to another, and I ended up moving down full time and eventually took over the business from my original partner.
Impressive, and it's on my to-do list. I hope to meet both of you face to face when the pandemic's all over. I want to thank you for joining me and wish you the best of luck. And we'll include in the description of this video how people can log on to Pause, and we'll definitely keep everybody up to date. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The nation erupted into scenes of chaos.
New data from the World Health Organization.
The storm's countries are now reporting cases.